John Pork's wild claim that Dillon Danis deserved even more punishment than he got instantly set the tone for what became one of the strangest nights the UFC has seen in years.
А ты же кулак даже разбил, потому что на фотографии видно.
Да, вот здесь чуть есть царапина. Об зуб, походу, я не знаю куда. И этим тоже чуть вот здесь попало ему, вот шишка появилась.
The whole situation erupted before most fans had even found their seats, and it involved a bizarre mix of longtime feuds, cultural tension, and years of bottled-up frustration that finally exploded in the crowd at Madison Square Garden. What happened wasn't just a random scuffle. To those close to Islam Makhachev and his team, it felt like something that had been building for a long time, and for one of his teammates, the man the internet knows as John Pork, the moment felt inevitable. He had been right there in the chaos when Danis suddenly found himself surrounded by several members of Makhachev's circle. The Misfits MMA fighter arrived quietly at the event, but he barely made it to his seat before things got loud. Cameras caught glimpses of swinging arms, security guards piling up, and fighters trying to pull teammates apart as Danis clashed with people he had been antagonizing for years. John Pork ended up right in the center of it, and later, when he spoke about the incident, he didn't act like someone shocked by what happened. Instead, he showed off the marks on his hand like a man who felt completely justified, implying the damage on his knuckles came from connecting straight with Danis' mouth. He insisted that Danis had brought all of this on himself and even suggested that the confrontation wasn't enough considering the years of disrespect that had preceded it. To him and to many around him, words carry weight, and Danis had thrown out far too many without expecting consequences.
Я надеюсь, ты же только в него попадал, ты там не кому-то, так скажем...
Не-не-не, охрана не попал, хоть хорошо, никого не попал. Только его бил, и все.
Ну, сейчас единственное...
Ну, реально, это, я считаю, даже это мало, извиняюсь, что перебил, но это мало для него. За его поступки это мало. Такие вещи не прощаются, за каждое слово ты должен отвечать. У нас такие стереотипы, что ты сказал, ты должен за свои слова ответить, но он... Ну, это для них, видишь, они, у них, я не знаю, как они живут здесь, что хотят, говорят, могут семью задеть, и для них это ничего. А для нас все, каждое слово, это все для нас святое, и нужно отвечать.
That attitude wasn't shared by everyone in the building, but it certainly wasn't surprising to those who understood the cultural backdrop of Makhachev's team. They take honor and family seriously in a way that outsiders often fail to understand. To them, crossing certain boundaries simply isn't something that gets brushed aside, and Danis had spent years crossing those boundaries. That's why, when they finally appeared near the section where Team Khabib and Team Makhachev were seated, tensions rose immediately. Security tried to keep track of him as he moved between seats and lingered near the fighters' area, but the flashpoint arrived quicker than anyone could react. Dana White later revealed that he received calls from security moments before the incident kicked off. They told him that Danis wasn't staying in the seat on his ticket and was drifting too close to Makhachev's camp. The UFC CEO admitted that he could have prevented everything right there by having Danis escorted out, but in his mind, if a man had a ticket, he had the right to sit in his spot. He figured they could simply keep an eye on the situation. that decision blew up in his face almost instantly. Within minutes, punches were flying and Danis was tangled up with multiple fighters from Makhachev's entourage, including Abubakar Nurmagomedov and John Pork. Videos started circulating online before the main card had even begun, and the UFC boss found himself dealing with a headache before the night's biggest fight even started.
It never even crossed my mind, as stupid as this could be, that the entire Muslim Brotherhood was here tonight in the first 5 rows for Islam. And as soon as it broke out, I was over on the other side and I go, I know exactly what that is. I knew it. And yeah, you will never see Dillon Danis at a UFC fight ever again.
Makhachev's own reaction to the whole ordeal was far from emotional. He didn't sound angry or rattled, instead he sounded almost amused by it. From his perspective, Danis had spent half a decade firing shots at his team with no expectation that he might one day have to face the same people in person. To Makhachev, running into the people you trash talk isn't bad luck, it's part of the sport and part of life. If someone talks endlessly about other fighters, there's always a moment where those fighters get to respond, and Makhachev seemed to think the brawl was simply that moment catching up with Danis. When he learned that the UFC had banned Danis permanently, he leaned into sarcasm, joking that the ban should extend far beyond the organization, suggesting the problem was bigger than just one event. The remark captured just how little sympathy he had for the whole situation.
Huge brawl breaks out with some of your teammates and Dillon Danis. What did you think of all that?
He said a lot of bad things about our team, and today the guys just meet him. That's it.
Danis said he's banned from UFC events for life, so he'll never be back to him.
He better have to ban from this country.
While the drama unfolded in the States, Makhachev's coach Javier Mendez was dealing with the aftermath behind the scenes. Once he heard White's comments about Danis not sitting in his proper place, he wasn't the least bit shocked. To him, the incident felt predictable given what Danis had been doing leading up to the fight. He claimed that some of the content Danis had been sharing online was intentionally provocative, including edited clips meant to mock people in Makhachev's circle and graphic videos designed to get reactions. Mendez suggested that this wasn't just trash talk. He linked it to Danis' history with Logan Paul as well, pointing out how the fighter had targeted Paul's fiancée with aggressive posts that eventually led to legal action. In his eyes, the situation with Islam's team was just the latest example of Danis pushing boundaries until someone snapped.
He was sitting in the fighter section and sitting where Team Khabib was to boot. I mean, come on, dude. You know you're asking for trouble. And then they showed me the videos of what he was showing Ali and Islam in a relationship type embrace. And then he was doing things with a porn star in Islam embracing. And then he's talking crap on other things. I mean, what do you expect when you do that? And you go and you sit where the guys are sitting and you riling them up with big, huge disrespect. I mean, this guy, you know, it's like when Logan Paul's girlfriend went after him, rightfully so, because he was making her look like something she wasn't. So she sued his ass. And then, you know, you got to stop that stuff, you know? It's like, stop picking on people's religion, man. That's what he was doing. He was making fun of it.
But the night wasn't only defined by the brawl. It was supposed to be about Islam Makhachev adding a new championship belt to his legacy, and he did exactly that. His victory over Jack Della Maddalena, while not a highlight reel finish, was a dominant and methodical performance. Some fans online were quick to call the fight boring, but those takes overlooked everything Makhachev had done leading up to that moment. One slower-paced decision wasn't enough to erase a streak of impressive finishes and thrilling championship performances. To people who have followed his run closely, it felt more like fans waiting for any excuse to label him dull, even though his resume doesn't back up that claim.
Poirier, I don't know if you saw his tweet. He said you're like the most boring fighter in the UFC or something like that. I know you said to ask you about him after the fight at Media Day. Can you give us your full thoughts on a fight with him now?
No injury, nothing. I don't feel any pains. I'm ready. Who is gonna be next? Let's do this, and I will make it easy.
Makhachev didn't seem bothered by the criticism either. At the post-fight press conference, he looked healthy and eager, insisting that nothing about the fight had left him injured or worn out. Instead, he described himself as ready for whatever challenge came next, and there were plenty of challenges lining up. The welterweight division is stacked with hungry contenders, from Ilia Topuria to Michael Morales and several other fighters who fought on the same night. Makhachev acknowledged all of them without hesitation, expressing confidence that he could handle any stylistic matchup they presented. He made it clear that anyone aiming for his belt should expect a grueling night, especially against his wrestling, which he believes becomes even more effective in this weight class.
Ilia Topuria won the title. Give me your thoughts on Ilia as a champion.
Yeah, Ilia is a champion now, lightweight, but we'll see. He keep talking about the fight against me, and after that fight, let's see, we will do some things, because everybody want this fight. We will speak about this after.
Obviously, there's a bunch of welterweights on this card. Do you have a second choice behind Usman?
Who is close?
Shavkat?
Shavkat is injured, I heard. Sean Bradley, no, other guy, like today, yeah. But today, Saturday, I think we will know one of the contender. And why I say Usman, because he's the biggest name in the welterweight, like who most defend the belt, you know. He's the big name, and he's in good position right now. He beat Barkley, who is one of the contender also.
Behind the scenes, his manager Ali Abdelaziz was already mapping out the next big opportunity. Instead of throwing Makhachev against younger rising stars, he pushed for a showdown with Kamaru Usman, the former welterweight champion who remains one of the division's most respected figures. Abdelaziz argued that a win over someone new doesn't add much to Makhachev's legacy. Beating a legend like Usman, however, would strengthen his resume in a way few other matchups could. He confirmed that Makhachev's jump to welterweight wasn't temporary either. The days of cutting to 155 were behind him, and the new champion was planning to stay at 170 for good.
So, do you think we could see him before the White House, or is the White House the number one priority?
Doesn't matter. We're gonna talk with the UFC, and we're gonna see what's next. Now he doesn't have to cut this much weight. He can fight every 3-4 months. No problem.
So we're gonna see him at 170 from now on?
Yes, this is his weight division. He's not going down to 155.
Last question. If you could pick somebody right now tonight to challenge him next, who would you pick?
He said it. He said he want to fight Kamaru Usman. Kamaru Usman is 15 fight winning streak, 5 title defenses, greatest welterweight of all the time. Beating all these young guys, what does that do for his legacy? It don't do nothing for his legacy. Kamaru Usman, it's a very tough opponent, and I represent him too. And it's not an easy night for anybody. Kamaru Usman is a real deal, and he want to fight the real deal.
Makhachev didn't hide his preference either. If he had the freedom to choose his next opponent, Usman would be at the top of his list. But he also made it clear that he would prepare the same way for anyone the UFC put in front of him. For him, the belt matters more than the name attached to the challenge.
The two fight did like very well, Moraes and Prates. Yeah. But I still thinking Kamaru can beat them both. They are young fighter who like hungry, but Kamaru still dangerous and one of the best in this game, you know? Really? If you give me the choice and ask me who you want to fight, I will take Kamaru, but it's not my job. Anyone, I will be ready.
Even beyond welterweight, some former champions have started floating the idea that Makhachev could eventually try for a third title. Robert Whittaker, a former middleweight champion himself, suggested that Makhachev has the physical tools to compete at 185. Whittaker even imagined a massive event where Makhachev could face Khamzat Chimaev in Abu Dhabi, a matchup that would electrify the MMA world. But despite the praise, Makhachev has expressed doubts about such a move. Even though he has the skill and strength, he knows how dangerous and unpredictable a fighter like Chimaev can be. And he doesn't take that lightly.
It's so hard to say who he fights next because both welterweight fights put on a spectacle.
I know.
They put on a show. And honestly, it could be a flip of the coin. Like in a perfect world, in a world of rules and regulations, the higher ranked guy would just get the fight. Both guys put on an excellent showing. But what actually happens, who knows? Is anybody's guess.
Either you have Michael Morales versus Islam Makhachev, or you have Michael Morales versus Carlos Prates for the #1 contender fight. But then I'm thinking about that, and I'm like, hold on, if Carlos Prates wins and Ian Gary beats Bilal Muhammad, how is that fair to Ian Gary? Because he just beat Carlos Prates. Welterweight is crazy, and not to mention, Kamaru Usman and Shavkat Rakhmonov are just lurking in the wings. I don't know what you do. This division's stacked, bro. It's crazy.
And not to mention, Islam just asked for a White House fight. You know, who do you put him against for a card that big, monumental? I don't know. I do not have the answers.
But still, the idea of Makhachev potentially holding 3 UFC belts is something fans are already talking about. And after his run so far, it doesn't feel impossible. He has built a career on consistency, discipline, and a level of grappling that very few fighters across any division can match. Whether he stays at welterweight or eventually tests himself further up to the ladder, his future remains one of the most fascinating storylines in the sport. Whether the dust finally settled from the Brawl, the title fight, the ban, and the chatter surrounding what comes next, UFC 322 ended up being remembered for more than the main event itself. It showcased the intensity of long-standing rivalries, the cultural clashes that sometimes spill into the spotlight, and the unpredictable nature of MMA when personal histories collide. The fight card delivered in the cage, but the drama outside of it stole the spotlight in ways no one expected, except maybe the people who saw it coming from a mile away.